Well guys, here we are, 2019 Honda Civic Type R. I've dreamed about driving this car. I have thought about whipping out my pocketbook and writing a check for one. I've only really driven one on track a couple years ago at Audubon Country Club, and I was blown away at how fast and powerful and fun to drive this is as a front-wheel drive platform. This is one of the best front-wheel drive cars I've ever driven, and now I've got a week with this thing on the street. So this loan has been a long time coming. Really been looking forward to this. Let's give you guys some of my first impressions on what this thing is like. So I've sat in a bunch of these, but I haven't really driven a whole lot of them. Of course, the big news, new for 2019, this gets a volume knob. Yay. And actually a much needed upgrade, and this upgraded infotainment is really nice too. Ergonomics are perfect. You have buttons for climate control, you have quick access buttons for everything else. Apple CarPlay works really well. It's a good size screen that falls to hand very easily. The sound system sounds fantastic. We're going to do a little bit of a sound test later on in this video. All good here. I love the changes that they made. We are also painted today in Sonic Gray Pearl, which is the new color for 2019. We'll take a look at that in a little bit here once we step outside the car. We have amazing Type R seats with bright red Type R seat belts. Some really neat leather stitching, a bright red Honda logo on the steering wheel, and that carries over on the key, which I think is just a cool little piece. And we have one of the best 6-speed manual transmissions in any car at any price, I believe. I think this is right up there with the Miata's 6-speed as one of my favorite gearboxes. It's phenomenal. 3 drive modes: Comfort, Sport, and R, Race mode. We have an electronic handbrake, and otherwise it's pretty much Honda Civic in here, except for some faux carbon fiber bits and some red trimming here and there, as well as some Alcantara here on this center console. Kind of a neat design here. Lots of ways to fit large drinks in here, small drinks, various items. You can close it, open it, extend it, do all sorts of different things with it. All right, let's step outside and let's check out this Sonic Gray Pearl. Until now, I'd only seen this color at the auto show, and it's pretty cool. You can see in the sunlight, it's got a little bit of a metallic flake to it. That's that pearl coating. It's almost greenish, bluish. Really pretty color. I think it accentuates the lines of this vehicle quite well, and I personally love the way this thing looks. I had it next to a Subaru WRX STI, the latest version, last night, and they're almost the identical, exact same length, but this Type R looks so much wider visually, and it is a much wider vehicle. The flared arches, the spoilers, the lower ground effects, they kind of give this a little bit of a touring car look. Pretty evocative design. In the back here, we've got a pretty neat solution to the cargo cover. This just slides out. You have a ton of space back here, this being a Honda Civic. Unfortunately, no spare tire, but you do get a tire repair kit. These seats don't fold flat, but they are pretty darn close. Actually, that is pretty darn close to flat. Ton of cargo capacity back here. This could very easily be a daily driver or your only car. And I think if I had to pick one car on the market to drive every day and track and do just about everything for me, this might be it. I'm 5'10", sitting behind my driving position. I have tons of legroom, lots of space under my feet. It's very comfy back here, very spacious. These seats are gorgeous. Very nice, roomy interior. Let's take a look under the hood at this 2-liter turbo, the heart of the Type R, 306 horsepower, Amazing engine. Some awesome tuning going on here by Honda. Still has VTEC. Massive 20-inch wheels, big Brembo brakes. Only thing I don't like about this car initially are the big wheels. I think what it does is it helps reduce torque steer, and I've heard from Type R owners who have gone to smaller, like 18-inch wheels, for example, that torque steer increases once they change it out. But it just doesn't give you any sidewall for when you hit potholes. The tire sizing is kind of strange, and I think, in my opinion, they just look too big. We've got a reverse camera, a couple different modes here. We've got a super wide angle, a wide angle, and then an above view cam. Turning lines. Turning radius on this is decent. And the driving position afforded by these seats is awesome. I had no problem finding a really nice, comfortable driving position. These seats are incredibly well bolstered, and they're very comfortable also. The brake pedal is tight. It has a really nice, firm feel to it. Decent amount of bite. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. This thing has incredible brakes. Once you get into boost around 4,000 RPM and you let off the throttle really quick, you get a little bit of a blow-off valve noise. That's kind of cool. Really amazed at how quick the throttle response is in sport mode. Oh man, I love this shifter. Putting it into comfort mode, you can immediately notice the steering lighten up a little bit. The throttle isn't as responsive. Your rev matching system is a little bit lazier. Ride quality improves. Everyone has remarked on this car how nice the ride quality is, and I have to back that up. It's really quite comfortable. It feels just a little bit firmer than a normal Honda Civic. It feels sporty, but it's very forgiving. It's very soft going over these bumps on this overpass. Really no complaints, especially considering that this virtually has no sidewall. The suspension system really does a nice job soaking up bumps. Putting into sport stiffens up a little bit, but even that's pretty livable. That's pretty drivable. Race mode, though, that's where it starts to get a little bit stiff, and really you're not going to want to rock that on a daily basis. The rev match downshift system works great. Every now and then it won't give me a rev match. That's okay. God, this thing just rockets out of corners. It's insane the speeds this thing does. I've been leaving traction control on, and it seems to be a pretty good system figuring out when and where to give you grip with this front limited slip differential. You can turn everything off with the press of a button. It's just a quick press, not a hold, which is nice. I've been noticing a little bit more understeer though on corner exit with the systems off. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit this week, experiment with how the traction control system affects the dynamics of the car, but for now that's what I'm noticing initially. Let's do a little 0 to 60 here. This thing really pulls hard. This feels like one of the faster road cars I've driven on a back road in real world conditions. I think a lot of very high-end cars would have trouble pulling and hanging with this thing. It's just so easy to approach the limit. It's so friendly and forgiving. You can feel exactly how much grip there is. All you hear coming from the engine is boost. It's awesome. This is incredible. What a car. Let's throw it into a corner here, see what she does. So neutral on turn in. There's a great amount of rotation around corners in this. Jesus. Can't believe how flat that was. Let's try cruise control here. 1 to engage. We'll set it. 72. I'm not seeing a mile per hour display on the cruise control besides what the speedometer is showing me. Again, no fanciness there. Pretty basic. The overall focus of this cabin, the lack of radar-guided cruise control, lane keep assist, nannies, the ease of it turning off traction control really gives me the feeling this is a driver-centric and driver-focused car. And I love that. It's a really, really nice direction to take this Type R, especially in these modern days of so much background noise and distractions while you're driving from the electronic systems. You get into the higher RPMs, it gets a little loud, a little buzzy. On the highway there's a little bit of drone, but it's not terrible. I think this is pretty livable, honestly. The back seats might be a little bit louder. Doesn't make the best noise in the world, but I think for what it is, it sounds just fine. Doesn't detract from the driving experience, I'll say that much. So keeping it in sport mode, let's see if we can get a little bit of rotation here around this entrance ramp. See what happens. If we throw some G's at this. Actually, what the heck, we'll put it into race mode. God, the brakes on this thing are phenomenal. The way this grips, it turns in. Brakes make me lightheaded. Nice little rev limiter there. This is fun. I like the Type R. If I wouldn't have just bought my Volvo 850R, I'd go buy one of these. Maybe it'll be a replacement for the BRZ someday after the 2020s come out. Yeah, this is a fast car. This would be, this is a weapon on track. Tedward is a good friend. Eddie, he's been tracking his Type R. He has a 2017. He's been having that for a couple years. He is beating Corvette Z06s that are time attack prepped around some tracks out near Boston. And he has a little bit of aero, stock power, brakes, tires, suspension. These are fast cars, and I think the reason for that is they're so approachable and easy to drive at the limit. From a dig, there's just so much grip, it almost feels all-wheel drive. In this case, I don't think front-wheel drive is a hindrance to this car. I think it's an advantage. It's able to put more power down. You can really, really ring it to the limit. The differential works so well that it's neutral. It pulls out of corners incredibly hard. The power to weight ratio on this car is awesome. It's only 3,100 pounds. Yeah. Let's see if we can turn rev matching off. I want to see what this thing is like to drive normally. Even under power, there's so much grip. You know, a few people have complained that you can't isolate certain inputs with your drive, with your 3 different drive modes, like your steering feel, your steering weight, your engine aggressiveness, rev matching, etc., the suspension tuning. I don't know, I think these 3 drive modes are set up pretty well for their intended purposes. Sport mode is a really nice middle ground. Comfort seems to do a nice job, and maybe they've tweaked these a little bit. Cruising down the highway in comfort, the steering seems to wander just a little bit, but it's not annoying. Again, I haven't taken a longer road trip in this. It doesn't look like you can change your rev matching system on the fly. I wish there was a button for that. Give me a button for that right here. That's it. Just give me a button and don't have to send me into the menus, because that is something that I would want to be turning on and off quite often. Alright, while we're here, let's do a little bit of a sound test. The system is nice and responsive. Sound system. Speaker sounds nice and premium, really clear, great bass, great trebles. No complaints about the audio quality in this car. That is one thing I was kind of worried about. One day I went to a dealer and just listened to the sound system with my playlist, and it sounds great. I'm very, very happy with this. This feels like a $36,000 car audio system. Maybe even a little bit better. I cannot believe how comfortable and livable and drivable this thing is. You get a little bit of brake squeal. Given its performance envelope. The differential in comfort and performance on this car is so high. This may be one of the highest performance cars that I've ever driven that can feel so raw, so dynamic, so exciting to drive at the limit, but also be livable and usable on a daily basis. Again, gets a little rattly, a little buzzy at high RPMs, but when you're just cruising, driving around normally, you don't notice it. And when you're flogging this thing, you're going fast, so you're paying attention. I really like this Type R. This is bad. This is bad for me. Bad for my checkbook. Well, I guess that's going to sum it up for this first impressions video. I will keep you guys updated throughout the week as to how my driving / week-long ownership experience is going. But for now, quite impressed. A couple little complaints, a couple things that I am hoping that they address with the updated refresh Type R. We'll see what happens. Or maybe we'll get a harder, more hardcore version. Maybe we'll get a softer version that's less expensive. Right now, though, I don't know. This is a pretty good balance. You have a nice number of features and amenities in here for the price for a $36,000 car. And the performance is just, it's very, very impressive. We'll leave it at that for now. We'll see you guys later this week. Thanks again for tuning in. I could definitely get used to driving one of these on a daily basis. One thing though, you do have to budget for a different set of wheels and tires, either for winter or for track duty, for daily drivability. I don't think these wheels are going to last long on Michigan roads. And I know a few people who have already gone through a couple ones that got bent in a pothole, so it's just one of those things. God, it looks good though, in a crazy maniacal way. Alright, that's it for now. I'll let you guys go. Take it easy.